If you've been around for some time, you may have noticed that I kind of like Avatar The Last Airbender, a bit too vehemently maybe, so the chances of me not talking about the movie that came out and features our beloved characters older and in new adventures were slim. Let's dive into it. Oh, and there are going to be a lot of spoilers regarding the plot. Also, this video will deal with the themes and the decisions made on script and how they affect the Avatar universe. It won't be a recap. Let's start with the art style. I like the anime approach they took, and even though they all look neat, at the same time, I kinda miss the blend of anime plus western animation that made the show feel unique. If you were to ask me what the original cartoon felt like, the closest resemblance I have at the moment is Studio Ghibli, more specifically Princess Mononoke and Frieren. A bit old, grainy, but it stood out and couldn't be confused with other series. The new approach feels a bit generic, beautiful and modern, but not distinctive. At least as far as the character designs go, I have already seen online a few people pointing out that they miss the noses of the characters. Stick with me, it will make sense. You see, the world of Avatar is based on a large scale on Asian countries among others. More specifically, the water tribes are based on the Inuits, the Earth Kingdom on different dynasties of China, the Fire Nation on Imperial China and Japan, and the Air Nomads on monastic practices of Buddhism. The Avatar Wiki goes into great detail about world building and how every aspect of the four nations is inspired. I do not possess the knowledge to analyze all the different elements from each culture that have been integrated into the show, but the visual differences in the faces of the characters were always distinct. It is the reason why many people have speculated that Tai Li is a descendant of the air nomads that went into hiding, since her facial features are noticeably different compared to other citizens of the Fire Nation. Those differences don't exist in the movie, and it's a shame. Moving on to the plot of the movie, when Aang visits the Southern Air Temple, we meet the Denied, a group of non-benders that are after a statue that Aang has collected. Now, in Legend of Korra, I watched all of it, we have seen Amon, who tries to stir up non-benders in order to have them gain control, go against Republic City and the Avatar. While I don't wish to talk about Legend of Korra in this video, maybe it will be a future one, I came to face the same problems that I have with this movie. During the 100-year war, the Fire Nation committed hideous crimes. Non-benders and benders were directly affected by it, and in general, the goal of everyone was to go against the Fire Nation. We've never faced or learned about groups or organizations who were against benders. It would elevate the threat and significance of them in the film, as well as in the world building in general. It could be the foundation of their increased influence and presence in Legend of Korra, and could highlight the injustice they felt. We've had very powerful non-benders in the series that could stand toe-to-toe with our main cast, but a group like this would show what an everyday non-bender feels among people who can stir up the oceans or create typhoons and put them at a disadvantage. And it wouldn't even have to be in a shocking way. Recently I rewatched the entirety of the cartoon, and I have done it many times. Still, this time I noticed things I hadn't before. The most interesting was in the tale of Momo. You see, while running around Basing Se, Momo runs into some cats, and all of them are caught. I always thought they were taken by a force related to stray animals, yet through the eyes of Momo, we see that they were taken to a butcher. Such a small scene, but it showcases that the wave of immigrants is so great that meat is scarce, and all kinds of animals are becoming a source for it in such desperate times. I would love to see scenes like that, because the movement of non-benders against benders is chronologically shown for the first time here, but we barely scratch the surface. Another issue lies with the power system. Like in Legend of Korra, the Avatar state is nerfed. Truth be told, it is nerfed in the main series as well at first. You see, it's an almighty force, able to take down almost any opponent once it is mastered. If Aang knew about it and had it already under his control, then the series would have ended in episode 1. Either this, or they would have to make it less powerful, which wouldn't make sense considering how it completely dominated Ozai during Sozin's Comet. It was the big showdown, the big enemy the whole plot was heading towards, so at first Aang can't control it and has to train in order to use it. But in the movie, which takes place years later and Aang should be a menace in the Avatar state, he struggles against a very big piece of earth, while Tagah, freshly out of the iceberg, has no issues. I know that the whole thing behind him is to showcase how big of a threat the airbenders could have been if they wanted to, as well as to hype him up as a villain, but I really hate when that happens at the expense of established lore and power scaling. All I look for in a series that shows a clear interest in the fighting skills of the characters, even more in cases like these where they reach god levels, is to take into consideration the established lore, and in the movie it doesn't happen. Considering how powerful the Avatar state is shown to be, not only in Aang's case but those before him, while taking into account how strong it was in the main series until the final battle, it felt weak and it's a shame. Something else that bugged me was how Avatar Zeon, even even though he's a spirit, in the spirit world, can bend. Why? He doesn't have a physical body like in Legend of Korra, where going through the gates allowed the individual to bend. Why is he able to do it? It didn't make sense. If anyone knows and I have missed some detail about it, please tell me in the comments because I have no idea. Moving on from that, I'll say something that I know will have many fans against me. I didn't like the storyline of Tagah, specifically how he was integrated into the plot. It felt cheap since that was the way that Aang was saved and he was the last airbender, and it felt a bit comical how we found another one under the same circumstances. Since Legend of Korra takes place years later and have already established the fate of the airbenders, no changes could be made in that regard. But bringing back an airbender from ancient times in the way it happened felt rushed. I like his contrast to Aang's character, not to mention the scene where they use each other as hooks and fly around, and his fighting style. It feels really threatening, although it was like the writers tried to make him feel too strong compared to everyone else, and unlike Ozai, who had his build-up for 3 seasons, in the 1 hour and a half runtime that is the movie, he as a character, to me at least, didn't achieve the same heights. The best thing in the movie, apart from the amazing fight scenes, is Avatar Sonam. I couldn't get enough of her. She'll definitely get some novels, and I can't wait to learn more about her era. Minus the stuff, of course. I don't know, the further we go into any Avatar project, the lore revolving around the power system stretches in uncomfortable ways. At first we had the 4 original benders, the moon and the ocean, the dragons, the badger moles, and the sky bisons. The benders took inspiration from them, and by following their moves, they learned how to bend the elements. Neat. Perfect. Tied it in a ribbon and mail it to every kid at Christmas. Then the lion turtles came in. It was interesting when the one Aang met told him about how back in his time they bent energy itself. It tied well with a question that arose regarding how the benders came to exist, since non-benders do as well. The lion turtles maybe taught them how to bend the energy, or did it directly to a few like they did to Aang, and it passed down through genes. Okay, that works too. But in One's era we were shown that he was instantly able to bend after being given the element of fire. He honed it by watching the dragons, but he immediately bent and was quite good at it. Same with everyone else that was given bending. It started feeling more like a fantasy fighting style, which it is, but with little to no attachment to the martial arts behind it, as well as the need of finding teachers to actually learn how to do it, or else you wouldn't go far on your own. And now we reach the movie, where we have as a plot device a staff that Sonam, blessed with bending, and that can give bending to anyone. How can I explain it? As a plot point, it felt like watching an anime original movie that isn't canon in universe. It was foreign to the established lore and out of place, alongside Tagah killing everyone and Katara bringing them back. That moment establishes the lengths Tagah is willing to go through in order to achieve his plans and how strong he is, which I'll say again, feels really forced script-wise. But no one believed they would stay dead. It sure leads to another cool scene for Katara, but take it out of the movie. Have them beaten up really badly to the point they can't stand up, and it changes nothing. Having him kill random people at the end, while it wouldn't have the same punch the writers would have wanted, would establish the same things for his character, and the casualties wouldn't have been undone. Also, there is no way after witnessing Aang's death, Appa would leave him. At this point, I would like to point out that even though I was overjoyed seeing the whole Team Avatar back on our screens, all the love went to Katara and Aang, and it shows. No one else feels needed in the film, and the air balloon falling into the ocean was clearly a way to give them something to do. The film is called The Legend of Aang, and he is the main focus, but as I said in my Avatar, The Last Airbender video, every one of them is essential to the story. I get that they wanted to focus on Aang, and if some fans simply wanted to see the cast as a whole coming together just to watch them fight and view how they've changed over the years, the writers achieved that. But in my case, it didn't flow organically, and I didn't enjoy that. Towards the end of the movie, the stuff is used to bestow non-benders with airbending. As I said before, bending isn't simply a power-up. Even the most elite benders had to be trained and slowly become masters of their element. Even Aang, who at the beginning was proficient in water bending, for example, apart from feats he unconsciously did during the Avatar state, never had such control over the element as exhibited in the film. In a flash, he had to find a teacher, train, and gradually become better at it. Maybe the staff gives total control over the element, I don't know. If that's the case, it still felt cheap. The ending fight, like every fight in the movie, was amazing, and the Avatar state felt as it should since the beginning. I always wanted to see Aang firebend more, and even though it didn't happen to a great extent, every frame was a salvage to my teenage self that was fangirling. As I said before, the animation is astonishing and the landscapes as well. Every location we saw, whether it was recurring or not, was breathtaking and could have easily been a 4K screensaver image. Not to mention that the scenes of Aang dealing with the loss of his people were clearly the highlight of the movie. A trauma like that is never going away, and seeing him struggling and trying his hardest to maintain his culture now that the war is won felt like a natural path from his kid self to his adult one. And lastly, when Appa was among the air bisons and finally wasn't the last one of his kind, it was really sweet. All in all, as you may have noticed, I am not the biggest fan of the movie. I see a lot of rightfully placed visions across it, but it felt a bit scattered, like the script needed much more time in order to actually deliver for the established franchise. I hope in the future we'll get more material for the adult gang, even if we view their adventures individually and not as a team, if that means it will actually focus on them as characters. That's all for now. See you guys. Bye!